largely and as liberally as you want. It might be the objects themselves. It might be something they elicit from you. It might be an emotional response or a comical response. It might be something that you would do with them, or that how the world presents them to us. Anything. I want you to think about some way that these might be connected. Construct a picture in your mind of some relationship between that little object and the contents of this little yogurt container. I started to talk about developmental things, and I was inviting you to think about, can you feel your brain doing something? So we're coming full circle, right back around to our very first night in class. Do you feel your brain doing something? And if so, what's it doing? And all those Piagetian schemata and all of those things that are showing my age a little bit here. I realize some of you might have a hard time with Sonny Bono. I'm gonna go with no, not Sonny Bono, but I'm going to give him a privileged leaning. I'm going to give him a privileged leaning on the continuum between yes and no. I'm not sure, and I don't know if anybody here is old enough to help me out to resolve that definitively. Now, share, on the other hand, is a definitive yes. Eric Clapton. You bet. Talk with the folks at your table. I'll give you 30 seconds. What do you think your hypothesis is?
Because nobody wanted to appear a fool. Nobody, that is, except one little boy who, for some strange reason, hadn't heard about the king's new magic suit and didn't know what he was supposed to see. Well, he took one look at the king, turned a little pale, and said, "Look at the king, look at the king, look at the king, the king, the king. The king isn't the altogether, but altogether, the altogether, he's altogether as naked as the day that he was born."
Which teacher would you like to have? Why would you prefer to have him? And when you decide on, what's it got to do with constructivism? Okay?
I don't know.
Resourceful.
So like it's when he made the story apply to them right then and there, and then
I mean, that's true, and it helps us on tests and so forth, but I mean, I've been memorizing lists of facts my entire life, and I can't tell you one of those facts in sixth grade. It was tell you one of those. Arguing from authority, and I think by following the school teacher, you sort of fall victim to that story that you're playing along. You're saying this is what reason is as we've defined it. It's playing by the rules. It's following lockstep.
But you do remember how to add.
right.
And I bet your teachers didn't tell you a story every time they taught you a new add family. I mean, that's practical knowledge that isn't fun to learn always and didn't involve storytelling and fluff, but you know it still.
In my observations, the teacher actually told a story about Cinderella to get the kids to remember how to round.
How old was the
What they did was
Old enough to
Kid
do
maybe
that.
was 12, 13.
That's
So how many
enough.
12-year-olds can like
For two
draw like Picasso or stuff like that?
Well, we're not talking about Picasso, we're talking about like Shudo.
Yeah, and that's all you do every day?
For 2 years.
Like
For,
for
yeah,
2 years?
That's not conceptual matter though. That's like actual physical work. You can't expect a 13-year-old to build a house the same way as a
Okay, a house is different than a shoe.
Is it really different? It's like
Yes.
physical material.
It's a house.
Way to go. Thank you. How do you know that Hans Christian Andersen is asking students to construct knowledge, whereas the other person isn't? What in that clip suggests that Hans Christian Andersen is guiding students to construct knowledge? This is physicists now, folks, who are saying to us, you can't measure an electron without changing what the electron's going to do. How can I expect to measure a kid without my measuring the kid changing what the kid can do? Don't take into account what physicists, quantum physics, are revealing to us, and that is a participatory universe. As soon as I enter the scene, it modifies the scene. If I'm not in the scene, you're going to perform differently than if I'm in the scene. If the test is in the scene, you're going to perform differently than if the test was not in the scene. And they want to be fleet of foot too, because they actually have to go to 2 different places in the room. So both athletically inclined and linguistically inclined. The person that maximizes the ratio between bodily kinesthetic intelligence and linguistic intelligence, if you can do that quickly. Right? Because what's going to happen is we're going to have 4 stations in the room. Some information that is in the folders at that station. Then you're going to return home to home base. See if pooling your information allows you to figure out what all goes home free.
There's Z, there's M, there's R, there's N, and that's Z, and then so like the goldfish.
Did everybody find the information they needed at all 4 stations? Did you get a quick person that covered 2?
Okay, well there you go. Black, white, animal,
2-minute rendition of the cooperative learning structure known as Jigsaw. Okay? Now, what were the elements of it? What did you have to do to solve the problem? In this case, not much of a problem. It's by forming expert groups. So you had a home group, right, which then went out and said, I'm going to find, each spoke. I get some information, become an expert on that piece of the puzzle. This group becomes an expert, this group becomes an expert. It's when you reconvene that the pooling of that expertise yields the answer. Did it work? Would you have had the answer from your station alone?
No.
Then we have successfully completed a jigsaw cooperative learning structure. That's the key.